As I've been doing this, I've started to prefer floor standers over their bookshelf counterparts. There's something about those extra drivers that just leads to better separation, more articulate bass, and just a bigger soundstage overall. And depending on the size of the floor stander, their full range nature differs. This Focal leans towards the more full end of the spectrum. The Aria EVO X No. 3 is a proper three-way floor standing speaker. It's an elegant design with a fairly modest footprint. It's perfect for both music and movie listening, which is why I requested the matching center. It's available in 3 colors: black gloss, prime walnut, and moss green gloss. My sample arrived in the gorgeous moss green color, and that color adorns the sides of the speakers. And to be honest, I was happy to see that was actually moss green because I used to own a Kia Telluride, and that came in what they called moss green, which was actually closer to brown or like stale mushrooms or something. It was just a weird color. It wasn't green at all, let's be honest. And this one is. And the green is gorgeous. Like, it's a beautiful color, and it really complements the look of these speakers. The green shows up really well in really well-lit situations, but if you're close to a window like my setup is, the colors actually change quite a bit. So like if there's a fair amount of shade on it, it comes across as dark gray or black, but then if you have other lights in your room, it kind of reflects off because it is a gloss. It looks really cool. I really like the finish of it. The grille is a full-length magnetic one, and it looks really smart, but I prefer to look at the driver complement when I'm listening. It's just a thing. I just prefer it, so I tend to leave the grills off. And it also guarantees that I'm hearing the speakers properly, regardless of how acoustically transparent the grills are. I just tend to leave them off most of the time. And my kids are good about not touching the drivers at all anymore. They're just used to new speakers coming in and me saying, hey, these aren't mine, please don't mess them up. And so they're good with it. But if your kids are like Sticky Fingers Magoo and you're worried, throw the grill on them. The front of the speaker is dressed in all black leather, and the top is a clean piece of glass. Included is an aluminum alloy stand with inbuilt height adjustable spikes. The driver complement is rather impressive. It's 3 6.5-inch flax cone bass drivers, 1 6.5-inch flax cone mid-range driver, 1 1-inch inverted M profile dome tweeter, 2 front-firing bass reflex ports, and 1 down-firing port for added depth. The surround of the bass and mid drivers is a smart-looking metal. Around the back, you have a set of binding posts. Frequency response is 39 Hz to 30 kHz. Low frequency point is 32 Hz at -6 dB. Sensitivity is 92 dB, and impedance is 8 ohms with a minimum impedance of 2.8 ohms. Crossovers are 260 Hz and 3100 Hz respectively. Focal recommends amplifier power from 40 to 300 watts. It's an immaculately built speaker that exudes luxury, and to be honest, I only have one nitpick, and it's pretty personal to me. It's just the flax drivers. I'm not really feeling it. I don't really like the look of them. They kind of remind me of chipboard, but that's it really. The center speaker airs on the larger side to match up with the towers in the Aria EVO X range. You get 2 6.5-inch mid-range flax cone drivers, bookending the same inverted dome tweeter that sits a bit closer to the top side of the speaker. This speaker differs by not having a glass top, but continuing the leather from the front, which is appreciated because it doesn't reflect TV images onto the top of the center. Around the back, you get 2 bass reflex ports and a set of binding posts. Frequency response is 57 Hz to 30 kHz. Sensitivity is 91 dB. Impedance 8 ohms with a minimum of 4.3. Recommended amp power is 20 to 120, and the crossover occurs at 2800 Hz. The Aria EVO X No. 3 retails for $51.98 USD a pair, and the Aria EVO X Center retails for $9.99 USD a piece. Now, admittedly, the speaker might be a tad bit too large for my room, but I wasn't going to pass up the chance to hear the speaker, so I set it up as best as I could. I have it placed about 6 to 8 inches away from my wall and about 8 feet apart. Now, Focal recommends a listening position of 10 to 13 feet, and I am on the short end of that. I'm just about 10 feet away if I lean all the way back, and that gives me the best chance to hear this speaker properly. Since the Focals have front and bottom facing ports, it made it easy to place and get sounding great. The center sits dead center on my media unit between the Marantz Cinema 70 and the Cambridge EVO 150. The top edge of the center speaker just creeps onto the bottom edge of my TV, which I'm fine to deal with for the time that I have this set up. The other gear that I used was the Apple TV 4K for TV and movies, and the Cambridge Audio Alva TT V2 turntable for vinyl. Once I got these speakers set up and all dialed in, I just listened to some of my favorite music. Celestial Navigation from the late great Marcus Intellects, Infinity from Photech, Delusions from Seba and Paradox, Shadowboxing from Doc Scott, Cocoon from Bungle, and Former Self from Overlook. This is the first time that I've ever voluntarily disabled tone controls on an amplifier, and it should give you an idea of how the speaker performed in my room. Usually with a floor stander, you get better separation, more detail, clarity, huge soundstage, but a tight and controlled bass. But here, with my tone controls bumped, I was just treated to way more bass than I was used to. And so as soon as the bass drop happened on Celestial Navigation, I reached for my phone and I just disabled tone controls on the EVO 150 and immediately just sounded a bit more balanced altogether. I also just turned off my subwoofer because I totally didn't need it. Like, it was exceptional. It's almost like there was a rise in the upper bass of the speaker. It's probably not overly flat, especially in my room. And this is my first go around with consumer Focal products, so maybe their house sound signature is just like the signature I've been looking for this whole time. So immediately these speakers became winners in my eyes, so I decided to switch gears altogether and play some more chilled out tracks. So I ran through Permanence from Akuratide, there's Manium from Vril, there was the Frequency of the Truthers from Black Dog, and then William Orbit's reimagining of Adagio for strings. And with a track like Permanence, there's a fair amount of low end, but I always found that like three-way floor standing speakers just perform better with this track overall, allowing the mids to sort of like act on their own or just like create a bit more of a sense of spaciousness overall in the track. And it just sounded better on floor standers in my view. And then with Adagio for strings, around like 6:30 or so, like the track just starts going into the high frequency end of things. And I find with lesser capable speakers that like they tend to either get really shrill or it just gets like a little grating to the ears. And not so with these. Like these speakers are rated to go to like 30 kilohertz. So it's capable of handling whatever that song can throw at them. And so they didn't stress at all. And the highs weren't like grating or piercing or any of those things. It was just highs. And it was a lovely listen. And it was nice to like, I was bracing myself for like this squirm, like, oh, here come the highs, I'm gonna, and no, none of that happened. It was just a good tune. Now, I did try switching out to the only other amplifier that I have in-house that I think would be capable of driving these speakers, the CXA81 from Cambridge Audio as well. And it worked, but I felt like the extra power of the EVO 150 just worked better with these speakers. I just able it to scale up more, and so I almost immediately switched back and never looked back. So then I just ran through some of my favorite hip-hop tracks. There was Make 'Em Envy from Dilla, Stakes Is High, De La Soul, They Reminisce Over You, P. Rock Seal Smooth, Adrenaline from Mobb Deep. And these tracks get my head bopping every time, and I'm less concerned with like a speaker separation or the dynamics. I'm just enjoying myself. But with these speakers, those tracks just scaled up really nicely, and all of the grit and grime of the program beats was easily intelligible, and it was kind of cool to hear that like a very revealing speaker didn't make maybe a quote-unquote poor recording sound bad. It just sounded great. And then on the subject of like a grimy recording, I can't think of anything more than like Wee Small Hours, Oscar Peterson Trio live in Chicago. I first got this on cassette post-haircut at like a audio thrift shop. And I mean, it's a live recording, and I've never really looked into this. Like, I just enjoy the track. I've never looked into how it was made, but it's a live recording, so it doesn't sound clean. It's more of a vibe. Like, it's a really nice song. It's pretty, but it kind of reminds me of just like a smoky bar with like people ordering drinks, and you can kind of hear the glasses clinking within it. It's really cool. And so playing this on those speakers, just like, it's like an all-encompassing, beautiful sound, and you can just kind of close your eyes and get lost in it. And like, if you choose to pick out like, you know, like people talking or glasses clinking and all those things, you can, or you can just take it in and just kind of feel immersed overall. It's really nice and highly recommend it. I binge watched Fallout on this system, and I knew nothing of the video game prior to watching this show, but I can say I'm fully invested. It's a great show. And with this system, like the center channel is in particular, the dialogue is crystal clear, voices have lots of weight to them, and then when music kicks in or things blow up or people die, like it scales up accordingly, and it's a really nice, fun, immersive watch. And I had the B&W 610 in place for the extra 0.1 channel of information, and I felt like it came in handy and it was nice, but like when I did turn it off, like I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. And so if you choose to have speakers like this and not have a sub in place, you can totally get away with watching TV movies without. And that was proven when I was watching Godzilla -1, like maybe the best Godzilla movie of all of them. Like, if you haven't watched it, just go watch it. And I actually prefer it in color over the black and white cut, just saying. Like, it's just, I'm not as nostalgic for black and white. Like, I like black and white for Ripley, but like Godzilla, give me it in color. It looks better. But anyway, when things blew up, or like that final sequence where they're trying to sink or reemerge the Godzilla and like he flies into his mouth, spoiler, but like it had so much impact. And like I was never like, when I watch movies, I'm not like trying to pick out separation. It's more like, how immersed can I be? And this was all full immersion. It was really nice. And yeah, totally great for movies and TV. If these are in your budget and you like the aesthetics, go audition them, because I guarantee they're going to blow you away. And even if these are not in your budget, but you have access to hear them somewhere, like at a local store or something, go and listen to them, because they're pretty amazing. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it.